In the Monty Python world, irreverence, absurdity, and sheer comedic genius formed sketches that have transcended decades. Join Facts vs. UK as we present the top 10 funniest Monty Python sketches of all time. Dead Parrot Sketch. The Dead Parrot sketch, also known as the Pet Shop sketch, is one of Monty Python's most celebrated comedic moments, featuring John Cleese and Michael Palin. Cleese plays a disgruntled customer who returns to a pet shop to complain about a Norwegian blue parrot he's purchased, which is quite evidently dead. Palin, the shopkeeper, insists the parrot is merely resting or pining for the fjords. The sketch is a masterclass in absurdity and escalating frustration, with Cleese delivering a hilariously impassioned performance and Palin maintaining a steadfastly ridiculous denial. The Dead Parrot sketch has permeated popular culture and is often cited in discussions about customer service and consumer rights, symbolizing the absurdity of blatant misinformation and denial. The phrases and lines from the sketch have been referenced and parodied in various media, solidifying its legacy as a timeless piece of comedy. The Ministry of Silly Walks. John Cleese and Michael Palin star in The Ministry of Silly Walks, a sketch that satirizes bureaucratic inefficiency and governmental waste. Cleese, with his ludicrously exaggerated walk, plays a government official responsible for developing Silly Walks. The sketch is a brilliant blend of physical comedy and satirical comedy, with Cleese's absurdly intricate locomotion contrasting sharply with the mundane bureaucracy of his ministry. The sketch has constantly been referenced in various forms of media and political cartoons over the years, often symbolizing the absurdity and inefficiency of bureaucratic process. The exaggerated walks have also been emulated and parodied, making it a cultural touchstone of comedic physicality and political satire. The Spanish Inquisition. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. This line, delivered with fervent zeal by Michael Palin, has become one of the most iconic phrases in comedy history. The sketch, featuring Palin, Terry Jones, and Graham Chapman, revolves around the unexpected and absurdly incompetent attempts of the Spanish Inquisition to instill fear and compliance in their victims. The trio, with their mismatched red outfits and inept torture techniques, such as using a comfy chair and soft cushions, have become symbols of comical ineptitude and unexpected interruptions. The phrase itself has permeated pop culture as a metaphor for unforeseen and ludicrous interventions. Spam. The Spam sketch, featuring Eric Idle, Graham Chapman, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin, is set in a cafe that predominantly serves dishes containing Spam, the canned pre-cooked meat product. The sketch is renowned for its absurdity, musical interlude with Vikings, and incessant repetition of the word spam. The sketch has had a significant impact on digital culture. The term spam, referring to unwanted email, is derived from this sketch due to the repetitive and unwanted nature of the email, much like the omnipresent menu item in the sketch. The term has become a fundamental part of internet vernacular, showcasing the sketch's enduring influence. Argument Clinic. Argument Clinic features Michael Palin and John Cleese in a brilliantly absurd scenario where people pay for the service of having an argument. Cleese, the customer, and Palin, the argument professional, engage in a meta discussion about what constitutes an argument, with Palin contradicting everything Cleese says in a deliberately unproductive manner. The sketch is a clever exploration of communication, logic, and the absurdity of contrarianism. It's been referenced in debates and discussions in various media and educational settings, often used as a humorous metaphor for futile and circular arguments. The sketch's dialogue and logic have been dissected and discussed in various academic and pop culture contexts. The Lumberjack Song. The Lumberjack Song is a classic Monty Python sketch featuring Michael Palin and Terry Jones, which has become one of the group's most iconic musical numbers. Palin plays a barber who decides to leave his profession to become a lumberjack, expressing his aspirations through a cheerful and seemingly wholesome song. But the lyrics soon take an unexpected turn, revealing his penchant for wearing women's clothing. The juxtaposition of the rugged lumberjack image with his unconventional hobby creates a brilliantly absurd and unexpected comedic moment. The song has been covered and parodied numerous times, and the catchy, upbeat melody paired with the unexpected lyrics has ensured its place in pop culture as a symbol of comedic surprise and incongruity. The Cheese Shop. The Cheese Shop sketch, featuring John Cleese and Michael Palin, is a masterful display of escalating frustration and absurdity. Cleese, playing a customer, visits a cheese shop run by Palin, only to find out the shop is inexplicably out of every single type of cheese he requests, despite being fully stocked with a wide variety. The sketch is a slow burn, with the humor deriving from the increasingly bizarre situation and Cleese's growing exasperation. The sketch has been referenced in various media and is often cited in context discussing lack of availability or false advertising, symbolizing a ludicrous discrepancy between appearance and reality. Hell's Grannies. Hell's Grannies is a sketch that flips societal expectations on their head, featuring rebellious, violent gangs of elderly women causing chaos in the streets. The sketch, which includes Graham Chapman, Eric Idle, and Michael Palin, satirizes youth subcultures and societal fears of rebellion by placing them in the least expected demographic. The absurdity of the elderly woman behaving like stereotypical youth gangs creates a surreal and hilarious scenario. Hell's Grannies have been referenced in discussions and portrayals of rebellious subcultures and remain a symbol of Monty Python's ability to subvert expectations and societal norms in a humorously absurd manner. Self-defense against fresh fruit. Self-Defense Against Fresh Fruit, featuring John Cleese, Eric Idle, Graham Chapman, and Terry Jones, is a sketch that parodies self-defense classes. Cleese, as the instructor, is insistent on teaching his bewildered students how to defend themselves against attackers armed with fresh fruit, creating a brilliantly absurd and impractical scenario. The sketch is a playful take on the sometimes impractical and bizarre scenarios presented in self-defense classes and has been referenced in various comedic contexts as a symbol of illogical and absurd instructional scenarios. Upper Class Twit of the Year. Upper Class Twit of the Year is a sketch that satirizes British upper-class society and features Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, and Terry Jones. The sketch presents a competition where upper-class twits participate in a series of ridiculous and nonsensical events, showcasing their incompetence and lack of common sense. The sketch is a biting satire of the upper classes and their perceived detachment from reality and common knowledge. It's been referenced in discussions and portrayals of the upper class and remains a classic example of Monty Python's ability to blend social commentary with absurdity and humor. And now an extra sketch just for fun. The Fish Slapping Dance. The Fish Slapping Dance is a short yet iconic Monty Python sketch featuring John Cleese and Michael Palin. Set on a picturesque canal lock, Palin, dressed in safari attire, performs a silly dance, slapping Cleese with two small fish. Suddenly, Cleese retaliates with a much larger fish, knocking Palin into the water. The sheer absurdity and unexpectedness of the sketch, coupled with its brevity, make it a classic. It's often cited in discussions about British humor, particularly its penchant for the absurd and unexpected. Now it's time to hear from you. Which was your favorite among all of these? And are there other sketches that should be in the top 10? Let us know in the comments section below.